In this tutorial, we're going to take a little closer look at triggers and door triggers specifically relating to the door we just set up in the previous tutorial. I thought it seemed like it needed a little more examination of the options that are available with triggers, and some doors, different doors have different animations, different abilities. This door that I've brought in using the WAD tool in the previous episode, it has an opening and closing animation both. Not all doors have a closing animation, so it's going to depend on what door you choose to use or what door you create from scratch if you're ambitious enough for that. But this door has opening and closing. So far we just set it up to open when Laura steps on this purple triggered platform. So I want to look at this a little more. So our trigger setup here is it's just going to trigger the object, which is the door, when she steps on it, just like we saw. So if you wanted that door to close automatically after a certain set period of time, you could put a number in this timer field right here. And this is number of seconds, essentially. So I'm going to put a 5 in there. And let's see what happens now with that. So I'm going to step on that square right in front of the door, and that door is going to open just like it did in the previous episode. Now, as long as I stand on this square, it's not going to close. But let me jump back one, and now in about 5 seconds, that door should close. Now you can step on it again, of course, and the door will open. So you can set an automatic timer for this door and for other things you're triggering. It depends on what you're going to trigger, what the timer would affect, but it automatically closes this door after the 5 seconds. Now let's take another look in here. In addition to this timer, there is a button down here called One Shot. What that will do is it'll only trigger whatever action is on this platform one time. So if we preview this now, I'm going to step on that, door is going to open, I'll jump back, it'll close after about 5 seconds. Now when I step back on that platform, it's not going to open anymore. It's only ever going to open that one time, the first time you step on the platform. So one shot means it will only trigger its action once. Maybe not the best action for a door, because, if you needed to get through here, now you're not going to get through. I suppose you could use it for a really tough secret, maybe, something like that with a door. But it works well for maybe triggering enemies only one time or triggering a sound once. Just depends on what you want to trigger. So let's take a look at something else. Instead of closing that door automatically after the 5-second time period we have set up here, let me take this back to its default of no time period and not one shot. If we wanted this door, for example, to close as Laura ran down this hall, as they often do in Tomb Raider, we could set another trigger in this hallway. I'm going to set it here in the third platform face. You can set it anywhere along here, but I'm going to select this one and then reselect the door. Now we want to create a new trigger because this is a new platform or a new face. Now this one, just like in the previous episode, is defaulting to trigger. We don't want to trigger the door because it's already been triggered to open. What we want to do is we want to anti-trigger the door. That's going to make the opposite of whatever the first action was happen. So in this case, it will close the door with the anti-trigger. I'm going to leave the rest alone. Let me texture this block something a little different so we can see when I step on it. Let's make it, how about that? So let's preview that. I'll step there, it'll open. It's not going to close. I can stand here for 5 seconds or 5 minutes and that door is not going to close. But if I back up down this hallway, and then when I land on this next space, that's going to close the door. So the new space under our feet is the anti-trigger that closes that door. Now if you wanted that door to open back up, we're in trouble. It's not going to open because there's no trigger here to open the door. So if you don't want it to open, that's great. Maybe you want to lock Laura out of the first part of your level, out of the temple or whatever. You want to move on to a new section and the player knows they can't get back. But if you do want the player to get back there, we'll have to set up a trigger to open the door on that side of the door. And we can do that. Nope. Don't want to texture it. We want to select that space, select the door, and then just make a new trigger that will open the door. So it opens, it closes, and now it opens again. Now we don't have anything out here to close the door. Of course, you could set that up now that you know how to do it. But those are just some options, door options, trigger options. And there's a lot more trigger options under the triggers. I'm just looking at the door ones right now, or the ones for this particular door, because that's what we set up. But if you were to look under here, let's pretend we're going to make a new trigger. There are a lot of different trigger types under the type of trigger. There are a lot of different things you can trigger. We'll be looking at some of these things in different tutorials, no doubt. But I just thought the door and door triggers that we were setting up in the previous episode could use a little bit more detail. So that's it for this tutorial. I'll see you in the next one.